right, we are back. Left foot, right foot. I'm Derek. This is Rob. We are back from SoCal Tango Championship 2024. Everything is in the books. We're just going to talk about the competition and just the obviously it's the most controversial day, the day after, right, where everybody got their prizes. Some people didn't, and we're going to just go over competition and judging pretty much for this whole entire time.
Yeah.
So what do you think about competition and judging in a sense, right? You sign up, right? And you enter a competition and you know that it is subjective. You know that people are going to have biases. People are only going to see your dance for a very short period of time and then make a quick assessment on it. And I don't know, do you feel like people should be outraged based on other people's score, which you know that you're going to get scored, right?
Yeah.
Evaluated.
Yeah. I don't think people should be outraged. It is a competition. Now, part of the criteria of the competition is there's judging. And as you sign up for a competition, you know someone's going to judge you. Now, whether your idea of how you dance and their idea of how they see you dance aligns, that's a totally different story. But that doesn't matter. What matters is that you signed up for a panel of judges to judge you. And if you don't like it, well, maybe competition is not for you.
It's interesting. Would it deter you if you sign up for a competition and you look at the judging panel and you're like, oh shit, like these are a bunch of people that, maybe you had quarrels with in the past, or maybe they just dance very differently from you. Would that deter you?
Well, that hasn't deterred me. It has, I would say it has gave me cause for concern. Like, when we were competing at ATUSA, there's a judge who consistently scored me very poorly. And if I saw that she was on the panel, I was like, here we go, But at the same time, that didn't stop me from competing. Did it bother me? Yeah, it bothered me. But at the same time, I guess it depends, because where I was coming at is that I knew I wasn't going to win. I came at it to come out as a better dancer, as a better person. But that might be different from a person who is competing, thinking that they have a chance to win, and they're in it to win, and not, they don't care to be, third place or second place again. They're in there. It's like gold or nothing. Because I've even heard that from people who are, who compete mundial, like one of our really good friends. He's like, I'd rather be eliminated in qualifiers than be to be ranked at 5th place again. I've heard that, so I can understand when.
But do you really buy that?
Well, I don't. Whether I buy it or not,
Yeah.
I don't think it really matters. But what I do think that what I'm going to say is that when you're that close to the gold, I could see where a judge who you have feelings that they're biased against you,
right,
might weigh heavy. Where I was nowhere close to being a finalist.
Right.
So that was never in my purview. And that's what I'm saying.
Here's the thing. It's like with these competitions, I think the thing that makes it the most controversial is that each judge has the power to really empower a couple they really want, and depower, for lack of a better word, a couple that they don't want. Right, and that's because of the scoring criteria. The way the system is built, I can give you a 6 point, and then I can give the person I really like an 8 point something, and that's a huge disparity, a huge range.
Yeah, and I could just gotta go, oh, this person is better than the next person, and say, oh, this is a 9.6. And they're a 9.3.
Yeah.
So where my difference is 0.3 and your difference is like 4 or 5 points. So it's like, and you average that out, it's like, who's really picking the winner?
Right.
So I do agree that the system and the criteria of judging should change. But I guess it's one of those questions where I've seen some places where they say rank them 1 through 10, and based on what place they get a certain amount of points, right? But the question is, like, that is fair because there's a standard across the board. But what if the gap between 3 and 4 is huge?
That's a good point. And plus, like, you can't Do you know how much work that is as a judge? You're gonna be like, they're not ninth, they're more like 12th. Do you realize they have to do all this stuff in like 6 or 8 minutes?
Well,
There's no way you can just categorically go fifth, third, eighth.
yeah, no, I hear you, and there's that. But I think another way to do it is to go by what you're saying. Hey, just have rankings rank 1 through 10, right? And then maybe give someone a point up to a .5 modifier. So like if you're like, okay, well these people are really really close together. So having saying that they're third and fourth is kind of really is really tough.
Yeah.
So let's just say they're allowed up to a certain like a half point modifier or something like that to make it a little more towards the perfect idea of scoring.
I mean, when you're watching and surveying, I've never been a judge before. I'm as a teacher and a professor for many years now. If I was grading, and I grade a lot, and I know that grading is very intensive and it takes a lot of time. If I'm just scanning a bunch of couples in 3 songs, I'm going to have it into 3 tiers. One, where I think these people should not advance. Two, these people could possibly on the borderline of advancing. And three, these people should definitely advance, right?
Yeah.
Those are the 3 tiers that I would put it in. And from those tiers, you get certain scores. People that I think shouldn't make it, you guys are 6 to 6.5. People that are on the borderline, you guys are 7 to 7.5. And people that should make it, 8 to 8.5.
Okay.
Right? I think that's probably, I'm assuming, what most judges in tango competitions do.
Yeah, you're probably right, but it doesn't hurt to have the organizers we say mention that in, let's say, the rules, so people have an idea like, hey, I really got to push hard if I think I'm in fourth place because like that the disparity between third and fourth is where the spread starts happening versus first through third is like really close. So that's something like that I can understand. Second, I think maybe there needs to be like an orientation with the judges so that and that might bring up another can of worms too, because
What?
well, because if you hire people to be judges and then say, okay, we're gonna have like a 4-hour orientation on this is our expectations of you as a judge. That's kind of standard business practice here for not outside of dance, where like it's normal like to have an orientation and say, hey, this is our expectation of you to do this job. Like you got hired as a professor, you have like you read the employee handbook, and you have this, and the school it has you have agreed upon expectations for you to move forward.
But these people are hired for their teaching and performing abilities. Judging is secondary, I would say, right?
Yeah.
Well, especially in the U.S. competitions, right?
Yeah.
I think in Mundial it's a little bit different, right? Because they're not performing and teaching, I guess.
Yeah, no, I agree. But what I'm saying is that like it's a certain can of worms too, because like some of these characters that are, like, how do you approach them and not have ego be a factor of it, because some people are saying like, well, yeah, I know how to judge, why are you trying to tell me how I should judge?
And you can't really enforce it either. You can give 1,000 orientations. They're gonna do what they're gonna do.
No, they are going to do what they're going to do, but then again, it's like if you don't like the way they're judging, maybe don't hire them again as a judge. I mean, just like me, like I hire a DJ, but if I don't like the way they're DJing, I just don't hire them again. I don't.
But who's to say if you're an organizer? How do you know? Like, judging is the last thing on your list. You're hiring people to attract people to come to your festival.
I agree.
And whether it's good teachers or whether it's good performers or if it's a combination of both, which is great, that's what they're there for.
I understand that, and I agree that that's the main draw of the competition, are like the teachers and performers. But if you want like substantial validity, like this, you are a legit competition.
Mm-hmm.
I think judging is part of it.
Sure.
And if you're known to not care about the judges, then people aren't going to treat you as a legitimate competition.
I mean, I think they care about the judges. They're saying that
it's like secondary.
Yeah, it's secondary.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but I would say this. I think right now competition in the U.S. even though like starting with ATUSA has been like what, like 10, 15 years,
Hmm.
maybe about 15 years.
I think 2010 or 9 was the first one.
Okay, so yeah, about 15 years.
Yeah.
15 years is in terms of an industry that's still fairly new, and we're still hitting bumps. We're still evolving, and I think it's one of those things where I would say right now, um, even though I'm very pro competition, I'm biased towards competition. I'm saying, and I'm going to say that the competition is getting, as an organization, is getting better and better each year. Not only is the organization getting better, but the competitors are getting better also.
Oh yeah, the level this year was great, for sure. There
You know,
was
yeah.
definitely great couples out there.
I mean, for the SoCal Tango Championships to even be such a big deal that you've got couples from Canada flying in, you got couples from Seoul, South Korea flying in. We had couples from Colombia come in. We had couple like, well, I don't know about this year, but previous years. We had couples from Argentina coming in.
And the Koreans won everything this year.
Yeah, they did. They did. But
Almost everything.
But what I mean is, when the competition has become such a legitimate thing that it's attracting international talent. I think that says something. And I think it says that we're doing something right.
Absolutely.
So if anything, we should walk away that we can do better. We're still continuing to evolve. And we're gonna take the feedback, go back to the drawing board, and revamp things. But on the whole, it's still a new industry in tango, and I think we're doing well. So take the wins while you can and celebrate the little wins. I mean, we're on the road to getting better, and that's all. And I think that's something to celebrate.
Okay, we are. I agree. It is advancing and evolving. What could we do to fix the scoring system that is currently in place? What changes can be made?
Well, actually, so I'm very much into borrowing ideas from other places that have spent a lot more time in perfecting. Like, why recreate the wheel when the wheel's out there
Okay.
on a different car per se?
Okay.
I would look at the Olympics.
Yeah.
The Olympics, what do? They eliminate the highest and lowest score.
Okay.
You have an idea of what scoring is, so there isn't too big of a spread. And just by eliminating the highest and lowest score, you've already eliminated a giant spread already.
That's true.
So I would look at things like the Olympics. I would look at other things like maybe the international ice skating community, or international gymnastics community, and see how they score and borrow from that, because they've spent a lot more time judging something subjective and artistic than tango. So why recreate the wheel?
That's a good thought, because that's pretty much, if you take away the highest and lowest scores, that is what's creating this huge disparity where one judge has the power of making their voice overpowering the other judges, right? If they just have a huge disparity.
Yeah.
So that's a very promising.
Yeah, and it's not often that you have two judges creating a huge spread.
Right. It's usually just
You
one.
know.
Yeah.
And if it's two judges creating a huge spread, it's not both in the same direction.
That's true.
So yeah, like eliminating the highest and lowest score, just that alone, I think would definitely change things.
I also think that if the scoring and if the judging was anonymous, I think that would be more beneficial, because I think there would be more honesty, and I think some judges may feel the pressure of boosting some scores because they know their name is attached to it. So maybe if the scoring was anonymous, maybe that would be more of a fair route. What do you think?
That's a tough one, because also it could backfire too. I mean, what if it's anonymous, but then like it's a long time like friend of a friend of a friend, and and it's anonymous, so then they're really protected to kind of shift things in the favor of the friend of the friend of the friend per se.
Well, I mean, there's really no stopping this. I mean, we know that with the tango community, I know it's pretty it's worldwide, but it's pretty small in terms of the circles that go around, and everybody knows somebody of somebody, right? And so it's, I mean, we fill out the sheet. We've been competitors and go, do you know this person? Have you and blah blah blah. We all say no, but we know this person, right? But
Well,
I
actually,
haven't taken classes in the last 6 months or whatever the question is. But I know they all. I know who they are,
yeah, and
right?
and specifically, like, as an organizer, I would avoid hiring certain people when I was a competitor, because I'm like, oh, I know they're gonna be a judge, and I don't want, I don't want the backup judge who typically doesn't score me very well
Yeah.
to be the person who scores me because I decide to hire this person within the window of, do you have a relationship with this person? And again, it's like, the person decided to show up and perform. It's not like I'm taking like tons of privacy with this person. So it's also like the weight of the interaction. Like, what's $300 for one performance versus like, a series of 30 privates within like over the span of 6 months.
That's true.
You know.
Right. Does someone know you just because they know your name, or do they know you like your life story and have
Yeah.
hung out dozens of times? Yeah, I get that.
So I've made those decisions.
Right.
But yeah, like I still think that I'm not keen on anonymous because I'm more towards full transparency. I think full transparency is really good, and people should be honest with whatever
Stand
they're
by
doing.
your score. You say your score, you stand by it.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things. I think, to me, I think the onus is on the competitors, really.
But what if so here's the thing, and we've seen this, right?
Mm-hmm.
What if it's good business, like business sake for you, your livelihood, you are a teacher, this is what you do for a living, and these are your customers, these are your students. What, you're gonna score your students low and not have business with them?
No, yeah, here's the thing. It's like, I would still score. For me, if I was hired to be a judge, yes, I would score them low. But just because I score them low doesn't mean I'm going to lose business with them. They might be upset with me, but maybe they can ask me if they can get past whatever ego they have that's being hurt, and say, hey, how can I get better? That, I mean, that could be a thing. It's just like, hey, you scored me very low. They shouldn't go over and say, hey, I'm really hurt. I think I deserve better. I mean, for example, Claudio Vijagra, who I had a relationship, and I think I have a really good relationship with him. And he scored me poorly in ATUSA, and he gave me advice. I was like, hey, Rob, I think you need to learn how to follow and really understand what's going on from the follower's perspective. Of course, I didn't really understand the utility behind that because we all know, oh, hey, it's better to learn how to lead by learning how to follow. Yeah. But I didn't really understand the minute detail behind that advice, because I could do it, but any which way, to get back on track, it didn't stop me from taking classes with Claudio.
Right.
It didn't stop me from participating in anything he did, and I think a lot of that comes with the integrity of the student. If you have a student who's going to jump ship at a moment's notice, that student isn't worth it.
But it's business.
It's yeah. Well, the business is already done. Just because you don't have that student doesn't mean you can't find another student.
That's true.
And I think that's one of the problems, especially in tango, that I see. Not just in competition wise, is that there's this idea that like, you have to have the stranglehold on your student, as if like, you don't let them explore. You have to.
Yeah,
they have
your
to see,
mind.
Yeah. It becomes very territorial.
Yeah.
I'm very much against that. Yeah, I think let the student go out and explore and do what's best for them, and if anything, like, just being part of their life and impacting their dance is what you set out to be. What you set out to do. But if your needs supersedes the mission of tango, then I think maybe that person should reconsider their career choices as a tango teacher. To me, I think it's tango and the culture of tango first, before your either financial needs, egotistical needs, and whatever.
Sure.
And I understand some people are all into tango. This is their livelihood, but but people make it work somehow. And whether that means you have to take a second job, third job, whatever. Um, but I don't think it's fair to you know to question to put your integrity in question just because of your financial needs.
I think that getting feedback is so crucial, and I don't know why it hits you just differently like after you compete, but I feel like the feedback as a competitor, it just feels like uplifting and like advice that I really should pay attention to, right? And so every time I've competed, and I've never been a person to hassle, like you see it all the time. There's some people that after the competition's over, they're like right up to the judges. What did you see? I've never been that person. I just happen to go, I just say good thank you, blah blah blah, and if they happen to say something, they happen to say something to me. I've always been that way. But I really like that they opened up this 30-minute session for you to go to the judges and get feedback.
Yeah, no,
Right, that was such a great addition to the SCTC this year.
yeah, it was. But that I think that was all. Well, I mean, I think that was always available, even at ATUSA. But this is actually announced it and said, here's a session where blocking out a room, and that's a little different. But I think you're always able to walk over to the judges and ask. But what I think of actually would take it one step further, like if I had my dream competition per se, like everything fell in place. What I actually would rather see is like, we have like at SoCal we had like what 5 cameras or 6 cameras running from different angles, right? So the whole competition was recorded from many different angles.
Right.
And what would be good is, you know, when emotions have actually simmered down a bit to actually receive that feedback. I don't think, because someone like myself who gets, if I'm really hurt, like getting feedback is at that time is the wrong time to do it.
I mean, but that's that's right in the moment. They're going to remember that. The judges, it's fresh in their memory.
I understand, but what I'm suggesting is, to have the judges be open for a conference call, after they reviewed like tapes or whatever, like maybe like 1 week pass for a nominal fee. Like, hey, it's like instead of a private for $100, let's say it's a competition review session for $50. It's a Zoom call,
That's actually pretty interesting.
and like and they have so the judges have time to review your that number, like, and all they're gonna do is look at you. They're not gonna talk about the scoring, but they'll say, hey, this is what I think you did wrong. Now that I see, now I'm looking only at you. This is what I see wrong.
Exactly, because they're always scanning around, and you're lucky if they catch glimpses of you in the 3 songs.
And not to mention, and maybe that's some of the things like, oh, I didn't see this before. Why didn't I see this? Because I was looking at somebody else.
Right.
But maybe that could be part of the feedback. Like you need to be, you really need to capture like the judge's attention, and how do you do that? But going back to that idea, I think that'd be a great thing to do, and that's something, if I was running a competition and I had all the money in the world and blah blah blah, that's something I would suggest doing, because then emotions have simmered down, and then I could receive feedback. Because if I took that loss to heart, I would not be open to any feedback, and that's happened to me before, because again, people have given me feedback, and I'm just like, what the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
Like, you need to work on your embrace. I'm like, who doesn't? So
It's good. It's good business because it provides a service that I think a lot of people want, and it's good business because I think holding that Zoom call is pretty easy, right? That's kind of that's manageable. That's if I'm a teacher, I do it, right, for a certain fee.
Yeah, and it's not like that they need to be certain. There needs to be a room fee. They need to show up at a certain place at a certain time. All they need to do is review those tapes, and if the teacher was good enough, they'd they show, hey, in this portion, watch this video with me. In this portion, I'm gonna circle it right here. Look at this. You're pigeon-footed here, or whatever it is. Look at these instances. That was not a clean that was not a clean movement. You're turning without turning your standing foot. You're like using your hip and momentum to go across. That was very obvious. Whatever it is.
It's an interesting thought because every judge, I feel, has a different way of explaining why they made a choice. But it seems to me that there is like a unanimous thing that we can all agree upon that says like, wow, they are dancing beautifully, right? And I'm wondering, what do you think that is? Like, what do you think judges look for when they're judging? Well, we'll just start with the piece, like the pista, not stage, right?
Yeah.
Because, but we're just looking at salon or tango de pista. What do you think they actually look for?
Well, I think they look for I think the first thing they look for is how clean the fundamentals are, and I think we mentioned that in a previous session. But I really think that they look at how clean the fundamentals are before they move on to how difficult the moves they're doing and executing well. Because if you looked at the Korean couple, by far they were the cleanest couple. I mean, some of the other couples were more dynamic per se, and or more energetic, but hands down, fundamentals. I would say I did not see anything wrong with their fundamentals. They were the cleanest couple.
When you're saying this word clean, you're pretty much saying they're together, that they're kind of with their partner, just in all these movements,
Yeah, I would say that.
slow and fast.
Yeah, they're together. Their execution was good. You know, you didn't see any imbalances. You know, they before they pivoted, they were about over their axis.
Okay.
You know, they were, you know, they were balanced. They weren't pigeon toed. They had good extension. There was, you know, their embrace breathed, you know, and into their movements. There was, you know, there was a clear idea of musicality
Right.
and the differences between the three songs. And, you know, that's something that I know I fail at a lot because I'm more reactive to the music.
To me, that's the deal breaker right there. I think a lot of judges look for the variety, like how you dance melodically, how you dance rhythmically, how you dance dramatically. And some people are really good at one of those colors,
Yeah.
but rarely good at all three of those colors.
No, I agree. I agree. And and that goes back to you know, Jonathan Claris's workshop, the Partners Only workshop, which is amazing. And that was one of the things that he stressed, that like he said that it was the hardest thing for him to do was to be quiet and be more selective in what he's going to dance to.
Right.
And until he actually mentioned that, it didn't, the light bulb didn't go off for me. So then from that workshop, I started looking at Tango de Pista very, very differently.
And Facundo and Vanessa mentioned this too, like when they were talking about how people dance to Pugliese and how they don't emphasize the really sharp moments of the songs where you should you should feel that hitting the step and hitting the timing in a certain way.
The
And
wump bump.
that one bump, yeah. But I think that is the separator. If you can show all three, and there are some people that were really good at the dynamic stuff, but then not so good at the slow, romantic, melodic parts. And I think that's the thing.
Well, okay, so that's the thing. Like I agree with you that is like the cream, right?
Right.
But I'm talking just pure baseline, fundamentals and cleanliness. Like when you said you want to grade people from like not gonna make it to like these people should win.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. That baseline for the not gonna make it, boom, you've already lost like 2/3 of the crowd. You know, and from that alone, like I would say the Koreans were the best.
Right.
And were they more dynamic and then more musical? Yeah, I mean I think they expressed their musicality well in all three. I think other couples express maybe the rhythmic a lot better, and another couple might express the, you know. But that's, I mean, like just to get before you get to your grading criteria, that you know, the cleanness of fundamentals, I would say like that's the first purge, you know, and that first purge is cutting out half to 2/3 of the competition.
Yeah, the way that people will change weight. I remember talking to Daniel Juarez, and he was talking to me about he looks for classic figures and sequences that are executed correctly, and you know, whether you execute them or not. Like, you know, cicada, like heroes with cicadas, executing the cross and these kind of things. That's really what they look for, right? Why if you are representing the old traditional, you know, kind of classic figures. right? And so I thought that was interesting, right? Because some people might say, well, I did dance slow and I did dance rhythmically, but then I think about, well, did you execute those common figures and sequences that some people really look for in the fundamental part, as you call it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And the other thing is also like our own perspective. Like there are many times where I thought, I did slow down. You know,
Yeah.
I did do these things. Like again, I think I like for Jack and Jill, I thought I did really well, and I still think I did really well.
Hmm.
Granted, not as well to get past the qualifiers, but granted, I think that I still did the best I did. But then looking back, I'm like, was I as was I as selective about how to express my music as I could have been? Yeah, plain and simple, no. You know, and I think as a competitor, um, we need to be able to swallow those pills, regardless of
Right.
where it comes from. Even if we're like we're tired of being third place,
Yes.
you
Tell me
know,
about it.
you have to if you wanna get to first, you gotta swallow those pills. And you might not like it, you might not like the judging, but and for me, of course I didn't like it coming from the backup judge, but I was a different person back then.
Yeah.
I was a lot more fragile egotistically back then than I am now. So I think that to grow as a competitor, that's the first thing you should be able to do. You should be able to accept judgment, even if you don't like it, hear it, see if there's, and really think, you know, even if you don't believe it's true, just open yourself up to saying, maybe it is true, and let's just work on it.
Well, here's the thing: is people take into consider. They think that their score reflects their entire dance. When you realize and you watch, I mean, I take it when you watch people when you watch the competition. If they have a shot of the judges, and this is for anyone that's wants to, or if you have never been in a tango competition, you're a social dancer. If you happen to see a competition video and you see the judges while they're dancing, look at how they scan the room, and you will see that they are not watching you for very long. It's glimpses and moments, right? And so they're not gonna see all of your dance, right? They're not gonna. They're gonna make a. They're gonna see a little bit and make a holistic evaluation, right? Judgment
Yeah.
based on that. But it's not your entire dance. And sometimes you're fortunate that they see you in your best moments, and sometimes you're unlucky when they see you in the moments that you're just not so good, right?
Yeah.
So that's the crapshoot that you sign up for in a tango competition. It's not like stage where it's just like you're the only couple out there and they can see every single movement that you do.
Yeah. And I think the other thing to add on to what you were saying is that even if you don't do well in competition, it's really not a total holistic reflection on you as a dancer.
No.
Because like for me, like I'm known as a person who actually feels good,
Right.
right? But do I look good? No, I know my shoulders go up here. I know, I'm working on it. But I've been told that, hey, Rob, you feel much better than the guy over there who looks good. And I'll take that. I'll take that as a social dancer. But going back to what I'm saying is that just because someone judges you in a competition, it doesn't necessarily reflect on you as a total dancer. And if your goal is to be a better total dancer, just keep on pushing forward. And I think that's all that matters is take the lickings, hear the advice, let it marinate in your brain, and do something with it. Whether if you know that is that's totally bogus, go ahead and toss it aside and just keep on pushing forward the way you want to push forward. Or maybe you could sit down and just go, you know what, maybe there's something to it. Let me give it a try. And I think that's how we become better dancers. It's not necessarily about the hardware.
When you mentioned look and feeling, I feel like that is such a huge one, because the thing for competition is the reason why I like doing it is because I never get to see myself and how I look when I dance. Right? I always focused on the feeling, and of course that takes years and years and years and years and years of trying to make your dance feel nice for your partner. That's pretty much the goal of dancing in terms of my book, right? But it is a part of tango where you want to look elegant, right? It's a part of that, right? to look elegant and clean. And so these competitions kind of help you or try to make your aesthetic look better, right? But in the process, it could, it could also backfire. Sometimes you work so long on trying to look nice that the feeling kind of deteriorates, right? And you kind of have to recover, right? Because I remember after the competition, I go into like the salon mode. I used to go into the salon mode and take me like a couple of weeks or up to a couple of months maybe to get out of salon mode and get back to my normal. I'm gonna dance creatively and improvise, and if it looks dirty, it looks dirty, rather than I'm gonna try to do clean everything, right? And so, yeah, it's very interesting look and feel, right? It's like people. I remember I did the Jack and Jill, and I remember I was like, oh man, I did pretty good, except this one dance that was just really bad. And the one thing, the one dance that felt really bad was the one that's like, who was that person you were dancing with, Derek? You guys looked amazing. Like, which one? The last person you danced with. I was like, oh, that was the person I thought was the worst. And then the people that I love dancing with, it looks like crap. So I mean, like, what are you gonna say?
Yeah, I know. But yeah, again, it's really tough. But the one thing I will say is that, whether you feel good or not, whether you look good or not, you can still learn a lot by reviewing how you look. So, and if you want, there are tons of people out there who are willing to help you out. Whether that be teachers, peers, colleagues. Go to a practica. Just ask someone, hey, do you mind like spending like 2 minutes and videotaping me so I could watch it? I mean, we do that here, you do that here. So, come to Derek's Practica on Monday.
Shameless plug. What's up with all these shameless plugs now?
Hey, I'm all about the business, man. I'm all about, pro-capitalism. I'm not, I'm not afraid to say that, but I'm just saying, go out there. There are many people who are willing to help you out. Be a better dancer and be a better person. So don't be afraid to ask. It's available.
All right. Well, till the next time, this concludes this competition wrap up. We'll probably do a little bit more, maybe talking specifically about the competition itself. But thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.
All right. Thank you.